Engaging a contractor seems so easy in practice, but then why do employers keep getting it wrong? Misclassification of a worker, especially contractors, is one of the biggest issues that we see in employment law. And I think I know the reason why. It's because when we look on paper, we think that contractors look one way, but when you look at them in practice, it's completely different. If you want to know a little bit more, then this bite-sized breakdown episode is just for you. Hi everyone, welcome back to Lawlands. My name is Sanam and thank you so much for tuning in to the Employment Law Done Right podcast. Happy New Year! Do you feel refreshed, recharged, ready to tackle 2026? I know for me, it has been pure craziness. We've been planning the wedding, but I'm glad we are almost done with it in terms of the planning, but we are getting excited and we're really keen to see this all come together on the final week of the wedding. So that has been me, but I really want to get back on track with Lawlands and give you the most that I can. And I love chatting to all of you and I love doing these episodes. So the way that I thought I'd do it is introducing a new segment called Bite-Sized Breakdowns. And the perfect example is in this episode, we're just speaking about how contractors should be engaged in practice. Not any other aspect of them, but in practice, what that should look like. And obviously, I could sit here and talk about contractors for days and days. Maybe not, maybe a few hours. You get the point. There is a lot more that goes into it, but this is something that you can listen to in a coffee break, a quick drive to work. Probably not in Auckland traffic though. You're probably not traveling 15 minutes, If you're happy for things like this, then stick around because we're going to get into it. Let's kick things off by first looking at what makes a contractor or someone a true independent contractor in the real world. Because we talk about all these cases and legalese and legalistic things, but what do you actually need to know? A couple of months ago, I had somebody call up that was a family friend that wanted to know about their employees and how to tackle them. And then when I peeled back the layers, guess what? They're not contractors. They're actually employees. This is the dilemma, right? A lot of times employers, they will try to bypass the employment relationship and try to frame things as a contractor relationship because it's on paper. But that's not what New Zealand courts, the Employment Relations Authority, looks at. So what they actually look at is the true nature of the relationship. They actually look at what is happening in practice. So let's firstly look at what the contractor is like in practice. Now, I'll get into an example first about what your stock standard contractor is like. Let's say you had a leaky faucet. I know that if I had a leaky faucet, I probably would do a bit of YouTubing and fail at doing that. So I'd end up calling the plumber in. And let's say that you call the plumber in. Now that plumber is an independent contractor. That plumber is there to provide you with their services. They're not under your payroll or anything like that. And that's the way that contractors should actually be. So when we look at a plumber, you're not supplying them with their tools. You're not giving them anything to help them do their job. And they're the ones actually dictating to you that, hey, look, I can come around at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Are you free during that time? No. So what about 9 a.m. instead? And you're working around their schedule. They're not working on your time and you're not monitoring them. When they come in to do the leaky faucet work, you're not standing there, hopefully, and hovering and watching over them. You're letting them get on with things because you're paying them to do a job. And sometimes they might come in the beginning and do an assessment. And then from there, once they give you a quote, the work is underway if you accept that quote. So you can see that there is a very distant relationship between the contractor and the person engaging them. That is essentially how the law still operates, no matter which contractor you deal with. They control how they work, when they work, and where they deliver their services. And if you look at an example of how this is all broken down, they set their own hours, they decide which software to use, they plan their own workflow, they invoice you at the end of the time, they provide their own tools or their own laptop, and they might also have other clients because income isn't dependent on one specific business. They're not working just for you. They are servicing many different clients. That's a complete contrast from an employee where you've got your job description in place, the employee is monitored heavily, they are coming in, clocking in at a particular time, clocking out, and they also are paid for a lot of things like their annual leave, their sick leave, whereas when you look at a contractor, they are not getting their holiday pay, they're doing their own KiwiSaver contributions, their own ACC contributions, so it is very different. In practice, when we look at that, how I would say to employers to apply these rules, because it doesn't always work, is that you can definitely have contractors, but it's how much you start blurring the lines. When you start blurring the lines, the question becomes who controls the work that they're doing? Who provides the tools that they're using? Who actually bears the risk? Is the risk on you as the employer, or is the risk on them as the contractor? And are they genuinely independent, or are they quite heavily integrated in your business? So when you look at a scenario of a contractor that might be working to write blogs, they could use your templates, they could follow your SEO schedule and submit drafts daily. On paper, they're a contractor, but in practice, if the courts peeled it back, they would look at that person and say, they're actually similar to an employee. So even when we're looking at things like the gig economy, this is the reason why the coalition government is pushing to bring in this new gateway test for contractors. So I'll touch on that in a little bit, but what you want to avoid when you're dealing with this kind of scenario is that businesses try to contract because they don't want to pay someone entitlements. This is risky. It's essentially sham contracting, and it's illegal. If the IRD finds out, or if the ERA decides that the worker should be treated as an employee, you'll have to back pay all of that PAYE, the holiday pay, KiwiSaver contributions, and any penalties that might be imposed. And of course, the worst case scenario on top of all of that is that they could raise a personal grievance. Before I left private practice, I worked on a case where the person was said to be a contractor and they were given a contractor agreement. Great. But they were pivotal in expanding the business in New Zealand. They were also given a business card with their name on it representing the company that they were supposed to just be contracting their services to, not working for. And they even went so far as having them being the person that managed client relations as they set up the company and tried to procure clients while they were entering into the New Zealand market. So you can see how that really has blurred the lines. When we look at a contractor, and the reason why we say that the contractor just does not work in this scenario, it's not because it's black and white, but it's more so because how much of that line that you've drawn are you now starting to blur? A lot of people have said to me, how many boxes do I need to tick for them to be an employee, Sanam, and how many boxes do I need them to tick to be a contractor? You need to focus on the core features of what a true contractor is. I would say that you can peel it back to how much control the person actually has over this contractor. How many clients the contractor might have. Does the contractor bring in their own tools? Is a contractor defined by specific projects or results, not about showing up and doing this particular task? If you have a contractor that is meant to come in and do cleaning, for example, and they're a contracted cleaner, then you shouldn't be dictating specific hours, but you might need them to come in between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. and do the cleaning. So that means that they need to get the cleaning done between that time. You don't say to them that we're going to pay you every single hour to be there. They might give you a flat fee, and the result that's there is that place clean or not. That's where even with the time bracket, they're still there to deliver a particular result or to do a particular thing with an end goal. It's not the same as an employee. And when we look at bringing your own tools, that is where businesses fall down too. A lot of employers will say, hey, we'll provide you with the tools, or we'll provide you with the tech and the computer and everything that you need. That works in making things convenient. But when it comes to the assessment by the courts, that will look like you have an employee on your hands. So what can you do? You can start separating and start making it a bit clearer. And you can do this by making little changes to your contractor relationship when you are engaging somebody. So from the get-go, make sure that you've engaged them correctly, but know that you can do things like having them supply their own tools and equipment and their own laptop, because that's what they're meant to do. Making sure that you do everything based on a result and make sure that it's about an outcome. Just like with the leaky faucet, the deliverable that they need to give you is that leaky faucet shouldn't leak anymore and it should be fixed. And that's the same thing that goes for your contractors. So what you want to avoid is, like what I said, really micromanaging that person, treating them like an employee. And when we're looking at them in practice, it's literally like a plumber coming in to fix your leaky faucet. And that is the best way that I can explain it. And usually when I do explain it that way, a lot of employers will look at at me and go, oh no, this person I have is actually an employee. And it's because you never get into this situation thinking that it's about the actual relationship. You think that the contract will protect you. But that leads me to hopefully looking ahead for this year. There have been lots of discussions by the coalition government and also the select committee about the Employment Relations Amendment Bill going through Parliament and almost being at a place where it may pass and we may actually see the law come into place this year. Obviously, we're still a little while away from that. For now, the focus is absolutely still on independence, risk control, how much they're integrated into the business. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in to a bite-sized breakdown. If you like these episodes and you want to keep following along with Lawlands, then please absolutely give the podcast a follow on whatever platform you listen to it on. I hope you have a lovely day, night, evening, morning, whatever it may be. And guess what? I'll catch you in the next one, everyone.